So we're the Apex Singers, and the concept around building a group originally came from myself, and I was adjudicating some a cappella competitions, and something I noticed was that quite a running theme, especially with a cappella vocal music, is performing arrangements that aren't actually specifically written for the group, and performing arrangements that are written for sort of generic soprano, alto, tenor, bass. So I really wanted to create a group that I could write music for, but specifically for the vocalists that I had at my disposal, rather than sort of just writing generic music for SATB. So that's where the sort of concept behind building this group came around from. But our project that we're doing, entitled Hiraith, is based around finding old folk songs that aren't that well known and bring them to life through our music. And that concept came about when I was arranging an American folk song called Homeward Bound for Irish a cappella group Ardu. And when I arranged it for them and sent it over, to my surprise, they didn't actually know the song at all, which I thought was quite surprising. So off the back of that, I sort of had the idea of doing this project around finding folk songs that aren't that familiar to people and trying to bring them to a new audience. And that's sort of where the project was conceived from that.
So I'm third year at the University of Manchester studying music. I've done like a lot of singing. I did a lot of singing at school with choirs and community choirs and stuff like that. But I'm also principal study flute, so I've like played in a lot of orchestras and stuff. And this is kind of the first ensemble that I've been in, which is one per part, quite small, close harmony. And I've always wanted to be part of a group like that, so it's amazing. I've done quite a lot of folk music. I started like a little folk group last year, and so another thing I love doing is to sing the music.
Yeah, my background is with choirs. I started singing as a child with the Halle Children's Choir, and I've stayed in the Halle pretty much my whole life, which is where I eventually met Ollie when I was helping out with some admin work at the children's choir when I got older, and he was doing his placement there. Yeah. And it was the kind of folk aspect of it that really kind of enticed me, and so that's where I met all these lovely people.
I study physics at the University of Manchester, so I really see like singing as a thing I like to do in my spare time for a lot of fun. My background's from singing in community choirs, done some show choir sort of stuff, so I like doing the more dramatic side of it, say. But yeah, I also met Ollie through the Halle's choir, and yeah, just the concept, being able to sing one apart with really nice close harmony, that was what really got me into it, and yeah, do not regret it one bit.
I grew up in Wales actually until I was about 10, and when I grew up there I was basically singing in choirs like pretty much every day. It's a big culture in Wales. Even when I moved over to Ireland with my family, I think it was a huge part of my life really, to the point where I was in a chapel choir with a couple of guys, and I threw together a barbershop quartet which I ended up arranging for, and until we parted our separate ways and I went and studied at RNCM, and then I met these guys, and it's gone through my whole life, absolutely, and it's just a thrill to do it again.
So first of all, the Parting Glass is an interesting one, because obviously it's actually one of the most well-known folk songs around, but I kind of had the decision, especially to make the project, if anything, slightly more appealing, that I wanted to do a couple of songs in the set that people would recognise and sort of cling on to when listening to it in concert or even on the album. And so I kind of knew fairly early on in the project that I really wanted to do an arrangement of the Parting Glass. And in terms of how I went about arranging it, I obviously did a lot of research into different arrangements that already exist out there, and a lot of the arrangements that I found were quite popular don't do anything too adventurous harmonically, and I think that might be to do with the sort of tradition around folk music, and that the harmony is quite staple with the tune, and it's sort of one in one with the identity of the piece. So I really wanted to push that out and try and keep this melody that everyone knows so well, but really give it a different identity in terms of the harmonic language which runs through. Which is why it sort of goes along the basis of just having a lot of close harmony chords, but also homophony, as well as sort of that classic a cappella do feature, the arpeggiate do feature, which we love singing. So that's sort of where it came around. I sort of wanted to contemporize the song, but through its harmony and accompaniment, and not through tampering with the really well-known tune. And in terms of other arrangers in the group, for this particular project, I'm doing all the writing because the way the group was sort of founded was on the basis that I wanted to be writing music for the voices I have at my disposal. So the audition process for the group actually was almost more of a getting to know process, and we did a huge amount of range tests, vocal tests, just so that I could actually get to know all the voices that I'd be working with really in depth. Not even just knowing, you know, their range, but knowing their range on different vowel shapes and their ability to sing loud or quietly at different areas of their range on different vowel shapes. It was a huge process for some people. I think we were in the room for like a couple of hours just doing different vocal tests. Sorry. It's one. So off the back of that, for this particular project, I'm doing all the writing, but I'm aware that there are some people in the group that are keen arrangers and writers, and going through for our future projects that we've got planned, I expect to relieve myself of some of the pressure of writing all songs for our sets, because this has been quite an undertaking this year, but we'll see what the future brings.
Well, I'm doing, after graduate, I'm doing a Masters in Manchester again, so hopefully we'll be sticking around and the group will keep going, and I'll stay in the group. So yeah, I mean, I'm really keen to stay in the group as long as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a first year at the RNCM, so this seemed, when I started, it seemed to be like a project that I wanted to carry on with throughout a lot of it, if not all my time there. So I'm pretty keen to stay.
Yeah,
to
at
stay
least
in
for
there.
another 5 years.
At least.
Yeah, I'm in my second year on a 4-year course, and then I'll either be doing a postgrad in either singing or physics again, but I'll most likely be in Manchester, Simon.
In the Apex things, crucially.
Yes, of course, yeah.
I'm currently freelancing music-wise, so I do as much as I can, and this is, you know, just it's a great gig, great consistent work, and really fun.
Yeah.
I'll be here for 2 years to do a master's in music as well, so longevity-wise, it's absolutely all there for me.
Yeah, lots of future projects.
Yeah. Yeah, business model and future plans are obviously something that has to be in the forefront of my mind, and I like to think that the entrepreneurship side of this whole venture comes fairly naturally, as well as the music side, because obviously fundamentally it is an artistic and musical venture we're going on, but I am under no illusion that to make this feasible, you know, we need to be making money. So we do actually have various things planned down the road, some of which are top secret, some of which aren't so top secret, but for example, I actually have a big plan to do a huge outreach project next year, where we're going to be touring around to different schools and basically doing a cappella workshops, but not only from the singing and performance side, but also from the writing side, because I think certainly in the UK there is a real shortage on the education of arranging and composition. So I'd really like to go on an outreach tour where we have a main focus on, you know, how to write for vocalists, especially for people at a younger age. So that's certainly something we're looking to do in the future. But in terms of a business model, we're recording our first album, which is obviously Hiraiv, which is this project we're doing. And we'll be launching a crowdfunding campaign for that next month, with the release of our next music video, which we're really excited about. So people can pledge a certain amount of money and get the album pre-ordered on that. And there's various awards, including tickets to our concerts, and most crucially,
tickets to our rap party as well, which we'll be holding after we've recorded the whole album. So people can look out for that to help us fund our first launch.
Yeah.
Yes, good question. I've been asked this by quite a few people actually recently, especially after the parting glass, with people wanting to get hold of that. It's something that has to be considered as a business model, but obviously the problem with that is the whole concept around the group is writing for the specific ensemble that I'm working with and for the vocalist I'm writing for. So in my mind, when I craft these arrangements, it's very much written for, you know, Elliot, Sophie, George and Gabriel, rather than sopranos, altos, tenors and basses. With that in mind, I definitely would look to publishing sort of a book of all these arrangements, mainly from an educational point of view, if anything, and if other people did want to perform them, then that would be okay, as long as they were aware of the fact that it is written for these vocalists, and not soprano, alto, tenor, bass, because that's like kind of something that we're really looking at. And one of the things I really want to pioneer with this group is sort of advertising and educating people in the fact that you can write your own arrangements, or you can commission arrangements from arrangers who can get to know your voice, the voices to work with, and write you something that would work for you. So in a way, in terms of the business model plan, I'd rather encourage people to approach me and ask me to write an arrangement of the Parting Glass for their group, rather than sell them the arrangement I've written for this group, if that makes sense. Because that's like, I think that's kind of the ethos we're working with here. Currently, we are representing ourselves, which is working really well in terms of, like, when we released the Parting Glass, we got a huge amount of support from friends and family. And I think that really helped it sort of snowball over the weekend that we released it. It was amazing how much the response we got to that video. Certainly, in terms of representation, I have very big plans for this group, and I'm very positive with where we're heading. In terms of, like, in 5-10 years, we do aim to be doing, you know, world tours, certainly a national tour at some point next year, and there's only so much I can do, because I'd really like to focus my concentration on sort of the artistic end of directing and writing for the group. So we are sort of looking for representation on that side. This year we started rehearsing this project back in September, and we've been working sort of religiously hard on getting this set completely right, because we really want to launch ourselves into the public eye with, you know, this really polished set of a cappella music. But in the future going forward, we would love to collaborate with instrumentalists. I'd love to do a show, sort of the Apex Singers and Friends, where we feature a solo instrumentalist and we sort of provide the backing. I think that would be really cool, to have a show where the vocalists aren't actually soloing. And we sort of provide the accompaniment to various instrumentalists. That would be really good. There's a few people who'd be interested in doing that, but also collaborating with other vocalists. We have connections with various other a cappella groups based in Manchester, MCR Vox, but also Ardu in Dublin, and I'd love to do sort of a collaborative concert where maybe we can do split sets, but also have some songs where we just all come together and form a massive a cappella chorus.
Yeah, that'd be really,
it'd be really fun. Yeah.
I don't know, I think I've always loved a cappella music, but there's never been like a set group that I've kind of been like concentrated on. Obviously, like the Pentatonics are a famous one, and I really enjoy listening to them. So it's been really nice to kind of get involved more with the a cappella stuff. Generally, I kind of listen to folky acoustic music, which is quite nice to have that crossover with the folk music and the a cappella. So they're kind of the artists that inspire me.
I'm a big jazz boy. I really enjoy my jazz. You can see me walking down the street tapping out some random time signature. So it's quite nice to be able to do some like complex singing with some really interesting harmony. Because realistically, vocal jazz isn't based around that. That's more just nice, smooth lines. So it's nice doing. It's nice being able to explore harmony in a very intricate way.
In terms for me, my main inspirations for this particular group, that obviously I'm a huge fan of a cappella music and I've been arranging it for a long time, so I draw inspiration from a whole roster of groups. I've grown up sort of listening to the King Singers as the next chorus, so they were big stars for me. But also, you know, the Swingles, I take great inspiration from them. I think they're fantastic. Saw them live a couple of years ago and blew my mind away. And the Real Group are brilliant as well. I've seen them live. They have wonderful arrangements. To be able to do those kind of arrangements with only 5 people, I think, is really inspirational. To be able to do sort of thick harmonic models with only 5 people is amazing. Yeah.
For me, I've always loved barbershop music. It's one of the big things for me, and the big culture that there is over there in the States is, you know, quite inspiring to see. Such a big culture around something and such a hype around something like that. Like even the fact that they have like a harmony school you can go to and learn a bunch of stuff. I mean, like I feel like that's something that we'll be looking at later on. But yeah, I mean, musically, I'm a bit of a musician. I enjoy harmony, and I enjoy things that excite me musically. So it tends to be interesting harmony, which I find a lot in barbershop, but also in classical music, some romantic stuff, and kind of relatively new, kind of up between like 1900 and 1800. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'd say I'm in kind of the same boat as Sophie. Like my inspirations tend to be more kind of folky, kind of acoustic stuff, and I think it's kind of the intimacy of that music between like the artist and the listener that really excites me about it. That's why I'm really excited about this group.
We've been working on this project for 6 months now. It's quite a long time to work on one set, and last weekend we released The Parting Glass, which is the first that anyone has ever heard of anything that this group has put together, which we were thrilled with the response from it. But we need to perform live. We need to. It's in our blood. We lust for it. So we have a performance lined up at the beginning of May, which will be actually a private invitation-only performance for a very small audience of half the set, which will be sort of a preview show. But we launch ourselves into public eye properly on the 8th of June. We have our very first concert, which we'll be singing the full repertoire for the folk project we're working on at the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester on the 8th of June at 7:30. And it's going to be a fantastic concert. We're lucky enough to be partnered with Sontronics, who are providing us with our microphones as well. And the whole set will be mixed live. We'll have all sorts of looping, EQ, reverb, live special effects happening. It's going to be a really, really great concert, so you should catch it. We are performing in Ireland at the Irish International A Cappella Festival. We're performing at the opening gala concert alongside Apollo 5, where we'll be performing a few selected songs from our project, and we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be a fantastic show. So if anyone is around in Dublin at the end of June, it's the 28th of June. So you should come. Is it 28th or 28th?
It's 28th.
It's 28th of June. 28th of June in Dublin. We'll be performing there as well. That's going to be a great concert. Thank you to everyone else in the group who unfortunately couldn't be here. Ophelia, Lydia, Neav, Matthew. That's everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mum, for everything you've done for me. Thank you, Laura, my tutor, for the past 4 or 5 months looking through all these vocal arrangements and sort of saying, "What are you doing?" And I explain, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Yeah. Anyone want to thank anyone?
Thank you, Ollie.
Such great music for us to sing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's sweet.
A pleasure.
Yeah, it's a privilege actually to have music written for you.
Yeah.
I've never had that, so yeah.
For your voice,
Be able to sing bottomies as they're written.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because you usually get forced to sing tenor lines.
Yeah. Don't know how.
And thank you to our videographers as well, Leo, Stefan and Paolo, who actually shot the Parting Glass music video. They did a fantastic job with the visuals, which really sort of amplified our audio version of the song. So thank you to them.
And our photographers.
And our photographers, yes. Chris and Viv. Thank you so much, Chris and Viv, for taking all our photos and making us look ridiculously handsome.